You've been bringing us scenes of the protest this morning with the Insulate Britain protesters lying on the road and getting dragged off by the police. What is it looking like at the moment?
Well, we're kind of in a bit of a sort of Mexican standoff between the protesters and the police. I have to say, I've been here, well, since the beginning. We had no police for the first sort of half hour. Then they sort of turned up and have been sort of standing around here, not doing very much. But as you can see here, we've now just had reinforcements come. 3 vans have come in, and I think they will be dragging some of the protesters off the street. So I think they were sort of waiting to plan about how they were going to coordinate it, but I think now we're going to be seeing them being forcibly removed. I don't think any of them have been glued down like we've seen in the previous protests, so it might be a little bit easier to move them. But as you can see, it's quite a heavy police presence. We've got 3 vans. We already had 2 vehicles which were here earlier. You know, I'd gone up to the police and said to them, look, what are you doing about this? And they just said, you know, no comment, it's your sort of usual story. But, you know, the drivers aren't idiots. They were sort of saying to them, like, come on, what are you doing about it? We need to be getting to work. So I think there's been a lot of frustration from the drivers that the police haven't been doing anything and they've just been here for the last half hour. Saying that, that's all clearly now changing. We've had 3 new vans that have been coming along, and it looks like, there we go, 1 person being dragged away.
Well, there we go. Obviously, we can see the
usual
scenes
tactic that's employed by the protesters.
As protesters are being dragged away by the police. And Alice, I think what's going on now? What are they? I think Alice, are the protesters saying anything to you particularly, or what's their main message apart from presumably just to insulate Britain?
I mean, that's the main message. Whenever I speak to them, it's the exact same thing you're hearing every time. Is, you know, they're talking about the importance of insulating homes, or they're not don't really say anything else beyond that. So it's hard to get any sort of further into why they feel this road, but that's their main sort of method. We've got now 2 people here who've been sort of at the usual sort of tactic of sort of going floppy, and they've been sort of dragged over.
Boris Johnson needs to get the job done. He needs to start insulating Britain now. It's going to reduce emissions. He has to get started on that, otherwise we have no future. Our children of this country have no future. It is really, really urgent.
And why do ordinary working people need to be targeted in this way?
Causing disruption is what we said that we would do if the government didn't meet our demands. As soon as the government meets the demands or makes a meaningful progress towards it, we will get off the roads. Nobody wants to hold up good working people on a day like today.
Has she insulated her own home, Alice?
Lorry driver who said to me, why don't you protest outside the government? Why aren't you outside Parliament? Why are you here if you're trying to target the government? That's what people are confused by.
We have been to the government. The government is not listening. We've given lessons to the government. We've talked to MPs. The government is not responding to us at all. Given that situation, there is nothing else we can do. Disruption is the thing that is holding this in the public domain. We need people to realise that this is urgent and needs to be done. The government is letting the country down.
OK. Alice, I believe that you might be able to hear me at the moment. Hopefully you can.
Get started. We're going to insulate.
Can you ask if she's insulated her own home?
10 of carbon emissions.
Can I just ask, I know insulating is a core part of your message. Is your own home insulated in the way that it should be?
I know we've done the best we can with our home. A lot of people cannot afford to insulate their own homes. People in
but leaders within Insulate Britain have come out publicly and admitted that their houses aren't properly insulated. Don't you think people should be within your own group practicing what they preach?
I think people try to do what they can, and people have.
But isn't that what we're all trying to do? Aren't we all trying to do
absolutely.
what we can?
And a lot of people in this country are too poor and too unable to actually do that for themselves. You know, 10,000 people die every year from cold in their homes, and there's 2.5 million families in fuel poverty. Insulating their homes in Britain will reduce that. They will change that and give people their lives back.
Thank you for speaking to us. So as you can see, that's the core message from the protesters is about this issue of insulation. Obviously, we know that many of the protesters, some of them have come out publicly and admitted that their own homes aren't insulated. But that is the core message that they're trying to get out today. When I speak to them, that's the main thing that they keep trying to sort of say to me. And when I engage with them and try and say, well, what about the drivers? What about people trying to get to work? What about the pregnant woman I spoke to who wasn't going to make her 12-week scan in hospital?
Exactly.
They just say, this is the most important thing. This is the most important thing.
Exactly that. Alice, thank you very much.
Protest is being dragged here.
Yeah. Well, obviously, Alice is doing a fantastic job for us live on the scene there.